Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Fawn Manor, where it's Wednesday, which means it's Epic Comic Book Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I'll talk about a certain comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. Steve Donoghue on his channel will talk about that same comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. It is our world's finest team up that we do once a week. And this week, we're talking about an incredible comic book, graphic novel, actually, that was released in 1978. It talks about the greatest event of the 1970s. Surely you remember the alien invasion that happened in 1978 that was only thwarted by Muhammad Ali and Superman. You remember that? It happened here in Superman versus Muhammad Ali, the fight of the century. So this came out in 1978. It was a oversized comic book that was released by DC Comics, chronicling this exciting adventure with Muhammad Ali and Superman. It was written, well, actually, it was plotted by Denny O'Neil, and that plot was adapted by Neil Adams, the great comic book artist Neil Adams. So Neil Adams did most of the work in this book. And this is one of the greatest graphic novels ever created. And I know this because there's an introduction by Neil Adams where he tells you that this is one of the greatest graphic novels ever created. Neil Adams, he did not have any false modesty. He was always happy to tell you how great he was, much like Muhammad Ali himself. So perhaps he was the perfect choice for more than one reason to illustrate this titanic story. Now, the artwork in this is amazing. And this could be some of Neil Adams' greatest artwork. It could be some of the best artwork he ever did in his career. I know that's saying a lot, but it is an incredible job. The artwork in here is amazing. The story, well, perhaps it doesn't bear too close an examination, but that's okay, because the artwork's awesome, and they fight aliens, so, you know, what do you want? So this is a reprint of that original oversized special, which came out in 1978. This was published in 2010. It was reprinted several times. This is a very popular graphic novel, actually, and you'll see why in a minute. It originally was published like this. This is the original Superman versus Muhammad Ali, which was published in 1978. My mom picked this up, and she must have done it at a convenience store or a grocery store, because this is the Whitman variant, and you'll see those on the ones that were sold at convenience stores or grocery stores. There would be like a big box with DC Comics artwork on it and a stack of these in there. And she picked one up for me, for which I was very grateful, because I read this thing over and over and over and over again. I've always loved it, just because the artwork in this is amazing, and it's a pretty exciting story. And for a long time, this was the only Superman comic book I had, I think. I was a big Marvel kid, but I got this when I was a little kid. I got this, like I said, when I was 7. So yeah, I loved it, and it's an incredible story. And Neil Adams did an interesting thing with this. I'll kind of show you here. I'm not sure how well this will transfer over on the video. So this is the initial page there. This is the introduction where Neil Adams tells you how great he is. But you open up to this initial 2-page splash panel here, and this gives you a great scene from the 1970s, a great urban street scene from the 1970s, where in the background there, Clark Kent, Lois Lane, and Jimmy Olsen are going to go talk to Muhammad Ali, because Jimmy Olsen found out Muhammad Ali is playing basketball with a bunch of kids. So they're walking down the street to go see him. And when Neil Adams did this comic book, he was well aware, I think, of how much space he had to work with and how how the artwork would look in an oversized edition. Because you go to the original of that, one thing that does not transfer to the reprint is just how impressive this is as an oversized comic. I mean, you look at that and it's just amazing. The level of detail, for one thing, that he put into this street scene with all the different people, the market there. You've got the kid looking at the little toys in the tub there. I remember those kinds of toys sold in exactly that way. You've got all the detail right down to the television antennas, the oversized television antennas you'd see all the time back in those days on top of all the buildings. I mean, he nailed it, and he put so much into just this opening 2-page splash page, and it's so impressive in this oversized edition. And there was an oversized edition of it reprinted, but I didn't get it because I'm dumb. I got the regular sized one. You want the oversized one just for that. So they're going to a park, and they're going to the basketball court, and an alien shows up. You know, that'll happen sometimes in comic books. Aliens just show up all the time in comics. So Clark Kent makes an excuse. He runs off, he puts on his Superman outfit, flies back to talk to the alien, and it turns out there's an alien armada up there in space. And he goes up there, yeah, there's an alien armada up there in space. And so they've got real problems, Muhammad Ali and Superman and the world, because the aliens have decided that human beings are just too dangerous. And so they've decided, hey, this is logical. How about your greatest champion fights our greatest champion? Otherwise, we'll destroy your planet. And so Muhammad Ali and Superman are like, each are thinking, you know, I'm the greatest champion of the world. At this time, Muhammad Ali was the world heavyweight champion. Oh, no, he wasn't. At the time when this was published, he wasn't. But he regained, because he lost a fight. But he regained his championship. Anyway, he thought he should be the champion. And Superman's like, I'm Superman, are you a dope? And he's like, no, but you're not even human. And I'm from Earth, actually. Which must have stung, you know. But they're like, why are we fighting each other? There are aliens here. So the main alien bad guy was intrigued and decides that, well, first, to prove that they're so tough and that if we don't do what they say, they'll destroy us all, they send a missile to St. Louis, and Superman has to go and stop the missile. And it's a great sequence, beautifully drawn by Neil Adams. And this is, again, another spot where it really makes a difference, the size of this comic book as it was originally published. Let me try to find that same scene here. Yeah. Here, that scene is just much more impressive when you've got this full-sized, oversized comic book. Neil Adams, like I said, he knew exactly what this would look like in an oversized comic book. So he used all that space. And yeah, he just did an amazing job. The level of detail and the level of the artwork held up through the entire comic book. It's brilliant. So they decide, the main alien leader, who's obviously insane, decides that, okay, well, we've got two champions. You guys should fight each other, and then whoever wins can fight our champion. Oh, but you have to do it near our planet, which has a red sun, where Superman will lose his super strength and all his superpowers, and will just fight Muhammad Ali as a regular guy. Problem is, you know, he would get his ass kicked because Superman relies on his super strength. And he never really had to learn how to fight, you know, because he's stronger than everybody. And at this point anyway, he hadn't encountered anybody who was at his level of super strength, at least not enough that he ever really had to learn how to fight. So as a regular human, he doesn't have much of a chance. And so Muhammad Ali says, you know what? Muhammad Ali's a good guy. He says, you know what? I'll teach you some of the finer points of boxing. Let's go practice. And so they go to the Fortress of Solitude, which is, again, beautifully done. And under a machine which takes away Superman's super strength, Superman builds a ring, and they spar. And Muhammad Ali, you have this page of Muhammad Ali talking about boxing and about how great he is, you know, because he's kind of like Neil Adams. And they talk about boxing. But then they're dragged off by the aliens. Aliens show up, giant alien robots show up. And they meet the aliens champion, Hunya. This is Hunya. And yeah, so this is the person they've got to box, is this giant alien. Which makes you think, you know, without superpowers, Superman's toast, and Muhammad Ali. Actually, Muhammad Ali is supposed to be normal, but by the end of this comic, you think, well, maybe Muhammad Ali actually had superpowers. I don't know, if you go along with this. Again, you get more shots like this because this fight is going to be broadcast across the universe. And so, again, another brilliant, huge outer space scene, which uses all of this space. You've got Adam Strange down there. That's a nice touch. He's watching it all on television. And, yeah. And somehow Jimmy Olsen got the job to do the fight, even though Howard Cosell was like there, like, why am I not doing this? And got Superman going into the ring with his special Superman boxing robe on, which I guess he just always had, just in case he ever needed to, you know, do a boxing match with Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali and Superman get into their titanic fight, and Superman gets his ass handed to him, as you knew that he would. So Muhammad Ali is just beating the hell out of poor Superman. But Superman won't fall down because he's Superman. He's just standing up and he's taking this pummeling until finally Muhammad Ali's like, you know, that's enough, man. And as soon as he turns around, Superman just collapses. And I remember this next scene really affecting me because there's this scene where Superman is just beaten to hell in the boxing ring and is carried off on this cart. This is not a scene as a little kid that we were used to seeing something like this. So I was like, damn, when I was a little kid. This was a very dramatic moment right here, I'm telling you. And so Superman is hauled out of there. So obviously it's going to be Muhammad Ali who fights Hunya. And yeah, we get more awesome artwork. We got these 2 pages of Muhammad Ali talking about how great he is and how he's going to kick everybody's ass in the universe. And then he goes up against the gigantic Hunya. And, you know, he has a tough time of it. It's not an easy fight because it's a giant alien. Meanwhile, Superman has recovered enough to go in disguise to try to sabotage the alien ships. He recovers quickly, Superman does. And he's going to move the ships to a place or something where he can get his superpowers back and destroy the ships. Here he undisguises himself. He pulls off his Mission Impossible type of mask. And the next few scenes are awesome because we've got the continuation of the fight here. Great Neil Adams artwork all the way through. We get some great outer space scenes, and Superman is trying to sabotage the spaceships, this whole armada of spaceships, and it's not easy. He actually gets pummeled quite a bit. Meanwhile, Muhammad Ali knocks Hunya out of the ring because, like I said, Muhammad Ali, he must have superpowers. That must be why he was such a good boxer. He must have had superpowers. That's the only explanation. Meanwhile, Superman's outside fighting the alien ships, and there's a great scene which again makes use of all of this real estate that you have on these giant pages, where he tears through a whole line of spaceships, destroying the engines of all the spaceships in a row. And this is just so awesome. Look how cool that is. Why didn't Neil Adams draw Superman like always? Because he does such a great job in this comic book. It was amazing. Yeah, so it was cool. So they take out the aliens, and at the end, Muhammad Ali and Superman are friends. Superman, we are the greatest. It was epic, man. This is an epic comic book. Suitable for Epic Comic Book Wednesdays. I'm not sure if this is still in print. I probably should have checked. But I know that this was printed multiple times in at least 2 different editions. Like I said, there was an oversized edition to replicate the size of the original, and this regular size edition, which is beautifully done. I mean, it looks great. But some of those scenes, they just, like the Superman scene, doesn't transfer as well. There's a little gutter loss, for one thing, because the binding is going to be tight on a hardcover book of this size, and it just doesn't come across quite as epic. But it still looks really, really good. It's still a beautiful, beautiful comic book. Has the extras in the back of this edition. There's the original cover there. You had a bunch of celebrities that were on the back of this cover here. All the 1970s celebrities, which nobody would recognize nowadays. But there's a little chart here to tell you who everybody is. And you've got a long list of celebrities that appear. I mean, we've got Bob Hope. Who else do we have? I mean, we have a bunch of people. We have comic book people. Howard Chaykin, Archie Goodwin's on there. A lot of comic book people. Denny O'Neill's on there. And then there's just a bunch of people. Cher, Donny Osmond, Kurt Vonnegut. There's a lot of people on the back of this cover. So that's interesting in itself. You have an afterwards by Jeanette Kahn at the back. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So if you have a chance, check it out. Like I said, I read this a million times when I was a kid. I have great memories of having this spread out on the floor and just lying on the floor reading it. I might do that right now. Okay, guys, I will catch you next time.